You know, there's something I've been wondering about lately. What's the deal with Fallfest 83? You know Fallfest, that strange ring-occurring event which was first mentioned in FNaF 6, had a prominent role in The Curse of Dreadbear, and may date all the way back to FNaF 4's DLC. At this point, 1983 is pretty sacred to the FNaF timeline, so what exactly makes Fallfest an important event of that year? Today, we will be finding out. Now, there's a couple things we know for certain about Fallfest, those being a majority of the FNaF 6 Alleyway posters. These include the Freak Show Clown, the Man Wolf, the Spookfest advertisement, and the Circus Act. We know that these posters weren't just for decoration, since they showed back up in The Curse of Dreadbear. The consensus on the Circus Act and Freak Show Clown posters is that they symbolize the Afton family and their fates, with the chained-up bear as the crying child, who most likely becomes Golden Freddy, and the Freak Show Clown symbolizing Elizabeth, who appears next to the poster not once, but twice. We also have a ventriloquist and his dummy, who are symbolic of William and Michael, who looks like his father. I'm assuming that this poster shows the Afton family how it was in 1983, with Michael and William still alive, but the crying child and Elizabeth having died by then. If this is true, then this may suggest Elizabeth's death having taken place in or before 1983, which I had already assumed to be the case due to Elizabeth's empty bedroom. Now, while those posters are important, what really gets my attention is the Spookfest poster. When it comes to Fallfest 83, we've got a pretty consistent Halloween theme. From the Fredbear's Family Diner decorations, to the Spookfest poster, to the entirety of Curse of Dreadbear, Halloween is clearly important to FNaF. So why is that? Well, I did a little digging and found something very interesting. It just so happens that in the Trilogy series, Charlotte Emily was kidnapped at a Fredbear's Family Diner Halloween party on the night of October 31st, 1982 or 1983. Up until this point, I had never realized how specific Charlotte being kidnapped on Halloween is, but sure enough, that fact's been there the whole time. Though it's not the only connection between Charlotte and Fallfest 83. Something that I stated earlier was how in the FNaF 4 Halloween update, Fredbear's Family Diner gets decked out in Halloween decorations to go with the DLC. Interesting that Fredbears would be pictured as having Halloween parties in the game universe when we know that they do the same thing in the Trilogy universe. Now, while it's possible, and despite some of this, I don't think that Charlotte was murdered at Fredbear's Family Diner, but rather Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. To me, the most compelling piece of evidence for Charlotte dying at Freddy's is the Take Cake Freddy sprite, who doesn't match Fredbear's purple and gold color scheme. I assume that this is just pre-withered Freddy, since Golden Freddy is commonly pictured with golden fur and a black or brown hat, like in Stage 01. Now, based on the reasonable assumption that Charlotte dies at Freddy's, some more connections become clear. First of all, a theory that's been around for quite a while is the idea that the FNaF 6 pizzeria is the same location as the original Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, which was left to rot and then became the 1993 location. Evidence for this theory comes from the possibility that the salvage alleyway is the same alleyway where Charlotte was left to die. Similarities between these two alleyways include posters, garbage cans, garbage bags, and the importance these two places hold in FNaF 6. Although it's not too important to the story, if these alleyways are one and the same, then the posters hung up on the walls may be the very same ones pinned up in 1983. That, or Fallfest and Spookfest continue to this day, which seems a little more likely since we see a circus in the background of the Fury's Rage FNaF 6 stage. Now, while we're on the topic of the posters, a Halloween party isn't the only connection between the novel and game series. Something I've yet to mention is the quite prominent Legend of the Terrible Man-Wolf poster, which is an obvious reference to the wolf from the Twisted Ones. If these posters are symbolically important, then Fallfest 83 and the novel trilogy have a lot more in common than meets the eye. Now, just to cap this all off, it's time to bring up the gameplay side of FNaF 4's Halloween DLC. As we all know, Scott stated that the Nightmare Balloon Boy animatronic was the only canon animatronic from the DLC, though that doesn't mean the others can't hold some importance. What I'm getting at is that With all this talk of Charlotte being important to Fallfest 83, Nightmarion ends up being the primary antagonist to a Halloween DLC of all things. That's a lot of very specific details that line up surprisingly well. Now, I'm not saying that Nightmarion is canon to FNAF 4 in any way, though Nightmarion's role in FNAF 4's Halloween DLC and Charlotte's death at a Halloween-themed party do make me a bit suspicious. In fact, this idea that Fallfest-related content serves to parallel characters and events from 1983 works well with an old theory from FNAF VR in which Dreadbear, that game's primary DLC antagonist, actually parallels the Crying Child in the Bite of 83. Okay, so this is actually a pre-editing afterthought, but I've just discovered that Fredbear's garbled dialogue from Ultimate Custom Night is actually in the Danger Keep Out office levels of the Curse of Dreadbear DLC, and can apparently be heard while playing the levels. Although I've never heard it myself, they do indeed exist in the files, which is where I found them. Now, this may not be entirely relevant to this theory, but since it was on topic, I thought I'd share the fact with you all. And besides, this discovery makes me a lot more interested in what else might be hidden in the Curse of Dreadbear. Perhaps this will come in more handy for a future theory. Just to sum all that up, since this video's been more of an information and connection dump than an actual structured theory, Fallfest-related content represents and parallels events and characters that took place in 1983. I'm also fairly certain that Charlotte Emily was killed at a Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Halloween party on October 31st, 1983. How that will come into importance will be seen in future theories. Now, thank you everyone for watching this video, even if it was a bit smaller than the average video. Your view is very much appreciated, and I do hope to see you at the next release. Stay tuned. Hey, you remember me, that cool FNAF 2 YouTuber who used to make BS videos about the flamethrower endo? Well, if you hadn't realized already, I'm back, and if you would like to keep up with all my stuff, since I'm pretty freaking inconsistent, please consider joining the Rabbit Hole Discord, new and improved. Okay, PSA over, outro time.